All right, so I want to welcome everyone here. We have our Philosopherdoc, Dr. Adam Millman. Yay!
Yay.
And asked him to moderate a very, very special guest, a dear friend of the show for many, many years, Mr. Jacobs, who's lived through quite many things, and it's great to have you here. And I'll just begin. There you go.
All right. Maybe a day, a month, a year, 5 years. There's no end. There's no end known. So you can experience something that's bad, maybe going on a crash diet or exercise because you have wedding photos to come up to be ready for in 6 weeks. So that you can do because there's an end point. But what happens when you don't know when the end is coming? And you can suffer, but then you also know that your parents are suffering, your children are suffering, your siblings are suffering, and everyone around you is suffering. So you could suffer, and you would rather suffer than everyone else, but you have no control, and the suffering continues day after day, month after month. Lucy's probably experienced more suffering in one day than most of us will, fortunately, will ever suffer in our entire lives. Now, there's a difference between pain and suffering. Pain is part of life. Pain comes with life. Life would not be a life without some pain. But suffering is a choice. The pain is part of life, but how you deal with the pain determines whether or not it becomes suffering or if you find meaning from it, and then can move forward. Viktor Frankl, the author and publisher of 39 books, was a psychiatrist and neurologist before the war from Vienna. It's considered the third school of Viennese psychiatry after Sigmund Freud and Alder, and then his logotherapy. He was in Auschwitz, other concentration camps as well, and his wife died in one of the camps, and Lucy was in Bergen-Belsen. So he said that everything can be taken from a man save for one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's own attitude in any circumstances, to choose one's own way. What that means is that it is not the problem, it is not the experience that is the problem, it's how you process it. And Frankl thought that the last freedom that could be taken away was how we decide to deal with the situation. You can be stripped naked and standing outside in front of the Gestapo in freezing cold weather and be completely demoralized. But your way of processing the information in your mind is really the last freedom that can be taken away. You can choose to look at the event and find meaning, or you can choose to look at the event or the events and say, God hates me, my life is over, I can't get past this. So Frankl used the opportunity to write lectures, said that when I'm out of this, I'm going to teach people what happened to me. And he saw the end, and he gave meaning to the events, and he was able to get through. But as we know, there are many people that did not get through. Most people did not get through. So what separates someone like Lucy Jacobs, who was able to experience this and not only survive, but overcome and then thrive after this experience, and other people that simply go, and we're not criticizing because who knows what we would do in such a situation, and somebody that decides to go and touch the electrified fence and die, or decides to fall on the ground and the Nazi guard shoots them in the head. What separates someone who chooses to live and overcome and survive and someone that is not able to? There's something about the thought process, and that thought process is something that we learn. None of us have experienced anything like Lucy, but we all experience pain, we all experience suffering, adversity, tragedy, loss. But it's how we look at it and how we respond to it that ultimately determines our destiny. Do you choose to give up, or do you choose to keep going? Do you choose to find meaning, or do you choose to find all the reasons why you can't go on? So let's hear Lucy's story. Enough of me talking, because Lucy is the celebrity. Lucy, please tell us who you are, where you're from. Tell us a little about your experience.
I am from Czechoslovakia. I was born in 1928. I was very young when they took us to the concentration camp. Like all the Jews from Poland, from Czechoslovakia, from Hungary, from all over. Unfortunately, we got into to Auschwitz, to Birkenau. They separated me from my mother, and I had a little sister who held on to my mother. She went with my mother to the left, to the gas chamber, and I was separated to the right. I think God wanted me to stay. And I was only 14 years old. I was going to the right. All of a sudden comes a guy, I think a shaliach. He says to me, how old are you, little girl? I said to him, I'm 14. He said, no. from now on you are 16. I said, but I never lied. Now you're gonna lie. I looked at him, he left me. He was from Poland. He was already in concentration camp for a few years with his striped clothes. And I thought about it, why would I lie? But it meant something to him that I should lie. He said, from now on, you are 16. He left, and I talked to God. I says, am I supposed to lie? Yeah. And I lied. And they asked me how old I am. I said 16. And they took me to work. Otherwise, 14, they would have sent me to the gas chamber where my mother went. But I didn't know what's going on in the camp. They picked me to work. They undressed us, they cut us bald. They took away our clothes, our shoes. They gave us a muumuu dress, a ship dress for everybody the same size. Fat, skinny, the same size, only one size, fits for all. And from there on, of course, some of them were crying. Some ladies the babies were taken away and given to the mother in the line, and they were sent to work. And they were making such a noise during the night, crying. They took away their babies and they gave it to their mother. And the babies went to the gas chamber with their mothers, unfortunately. And they never saw them again. And that was the first night. It was a chaos. The mother started to cry, I want my baby, and a lot of noise. So the SS woman came in, started to shoot on the ceiling, so we got scared. We got in, we were bald, we were naked, hungry. We didn't know. Some of us didn't even know what's going on. We were like mesmerized, we didn't know. The night passed by, the SS woman came in, shooting the ceiling, so we kept quiet. The woman, with the babies were taken away, they kept quiet. In the morning, 5 o'clock, a bell rang, and we had to get out. C'est l'appel. And 5, and they were counting us. We couldn't run away, all around barbed wires. We couldn't run away even if we want to. We touched the barbed wire, we got killed, burned, electrified. So this was the first day. Of course, I looked at the chimneys where my parents were burning and other Jewish people were burning. The flame was big, but we had no choice, either one way or another, to go to the barbed wire and kill yourself, or just go on.
I wanted to ask you, just if it's okay, could you tell us, just because the last time we spoke, we didn't have a chance to do this.
What?
Tell us a little bit about you, your family, and your siblings before this happened to you, a little bit earlier in your childhood.
We were 7 children. I come from Czechoslovakia, from Munkac. It was an Orthodox town. It was big rabbis there. We were 7 children. I was the 6th. Underneath me was a little girl, Etela. My Jewish name is Metuka in Hebrew. I made myself Lucy in concentration camp, so nobody knows Metuka. Now Zisela, my father used to call me Zisela. And when we got in there, we were all the same, in the same boat. We didn't have any food.
Lucy, who was it that came to take you all away? You were telling me in the car in Czechoslovakia. It wasn't Germans, it was somebody else.
There were some neighbors, some goy. He said to my father, leave Lucy here, I'll watch her. My father said, no, she's going where I'm going. We didn't know where he was going, but he won't leave me. He figured that he's going to rape me and kill me. I was a little girl, 14 years old. He won't leave me. He said, she's going with me. Where I'm going, she's going. And that was the life. We all went in there. And from the 7 children, I'm the only one alive.
Who did you lose, Lucy, in the war?
I lost 4 brothers and 2 sisters. We were 3 girls and 4 boys. We had twins.
And your parents?
Shimon and Velva. Yeah.
And your parents?
And my parents. My parents' name was Mordechai, and my mother's name was Frida.
Lucy, who was it? Which group of people came to take you guys away to the concentration?
Which people?
No, they weren't German Nazis. They were.
No, there, there were plenty of them, the Hitlerjugend in our city, and they became against Jews. We were wearing yellow stars first, so they know who was Jewish and who wasn't. I was thrown out from school. I was still in high school, thrown out from school because I was a Jew. And Jewish people couldn't go to school anymore. I had a sister who was the oldest. She was 20 years old, so my daddy let her go to Hungary, to Budapest. She was a designer, so he let her go to work there. She was 20 years old. She was older than me. He won't let go nowhere. And she survived without concentration camp in Budapest as a Christian. And she used to help for the people that they were in bunkers hiding, the Jewish people in Budapest. So she used to bring them food.
She said the Hungarians
Hungarians.
were the ones that came to take you back.
Yeah, I mean, Hungary take over from the Czechs. They marched in, and they became the bosses, and they were very anti-Semitic.
So
We were already outnumbered with stars, yellow stars, everybody, so they knew who was a Jew and who was not a Jew.
So Lucy was from the part of Czechoslovakia that Neville Chamberlain agreed to give to the Germans in exchange for there not being a war. It's called the Sudetenland. He said, if you give me the Sudetenland, then we won't make a war. And then he invaded Poland and the Second World War started. So Lucy, let's move forward a little bit. So you told us about your first day in the concentration camp. So when you woke up the next day, what did you tell yourself? You said there are people that went to run to the wires to be electrocuted. Why did you decide?
I wanted to run at once, but God said no.
What did he tell you?
He said, don't do that. You gotta live. And I was living, suffering. I've been in Bergen-Belsen. I had typhus. I've been through everything, and here I am. I was 94 years old last week.
Wow,
Lucy, how long were you in the concentration camp for?
I was 2 years.
2 years. So a day goes by, a week, a month, 2 months. Every day you get up and you have to make a decision.
Never forget.
You have to make a decision every day. Should I fall on the ground and just be killed? Should I run to an electrified fence?
No, I am in America. I'm not going to do that.
So when you were in the concentration camp, you decided not
I am
to do
free.
Now, yeah. Why did you decide not to do what many other people did, which is give up or try to put
They give
themselves
up, they kill themselves, many of them.
Why did you decide not to do that?
He told me. God told me.
He said
No, you gotta live to tell the story for people that they don't know about it.
Absolutely.
6 million went into that chamber, gas chamber, including my parents.
So even from the beginning, you said to yourself, God wants me to live because I have to tell the story about
Correct.
About how cruel humanity is, or how
Terrible. That God was there and he didn't do nothing. I'm used to say, where is God? Why? Why the Jewish people? Why did we have to suffer? and killed 6 million. Why? They were good people, rabbis, big rabbis. Why? Why did it come to us? Why? We didn't deserve it.
So even though it didn't make sense to you,
No.
you still persevered because you thought that it was your job to tell people after the war when
Correct.
it was over what happened.
Correct. I have to tell everybody there are people that they don't know what happened to us. Many people here in the United States, I go talking to many people, they never heard of it. So I tell them, it is true. Here I am, a witness. It's true what happened to 6 million Jews. They just herd them into the gas chamber like animals.
So Lucy, did you grow? You said God told you that you needed to survive. Did your family grow up talking about God and
Yes, my daddy was not with a beard, but he was an Orthodox man. Kept Shabbos, he said, I'm the richest guy. I took 4 boys to temple every single Saturday. So he said he's the richest guy. And he was not with a beard. You don't have to have a beard to be religious.
I can't trust anyone that doesn't have a beard, including women.
Yeah?
So what I think is remarkable what Lucy says and everything. But during the war, there are many people that lost their faith in the Almighty.
Correct.
Right? Why would the Almighty do something like this?
But they woke up when they took him to concentration camp. They woke up that they are Jewish.
So you can go one of two ways, right? You can either become discouraged or inspired. So Lucy's suffering, and maybe somebody would reflexively say, well, this means God doesn't exist, because if God existed, he wouldn't do something like this. So
He kept me alive.
So this is your opinion. This is you externalizing in your mind, what you think God should do. God should be just. God should be virtuous. God should be all kind, never hurt anyone, and therefore the world does not seem to conform to that, is inconsistent with my definition, so therefore God doesn't exist. Because God is not behaving the way he should behave if he existed, so he doesn't exist. Or God is behaving the way he's not supposed to behave or how I want him to behave, but I don't understand what's going on, and that has nothing to do with the existence of God just because I don't understand it. And then you have the person that says, what in the world is going on? This can't. God is doing this, and I'm angry at God because he's doing this, and therefore I'm not going to have anything to do. He exists, but I don't want to have anything to do with it. So you can look at it. You can say there is a God or there isn't a God based on the activity of what God seems to be doing, or say that he doesn't exist because I don't like what he's doing, or you say I don't understand it or rebel against it. So Lucy takes this other path where I don't understand it.
There is
God
a
exists
God,
anyway.
because I'm here. And I could tell you, and I could talk to you. There is a God. God saved me. I don't know why, but he did. Thank you.
Well, what I found through these interviews I've done with people that have survived adversity and overcome it, there's a few things that seem to exist. There has to be something outside of oneself. It can't be the adversity is here and it's all about me. There has to be something outside of you, and it's usually a dependence on other people or their dependence on you and your connection with them. Because what's in it for yourself can only take you so far, but what's in it for somebody else can take you as far as you want to go. So it can't just be about you. When the U.S. Indianapolis was sunk towards the end of the Second World War, hundreds of American soldiers died instantly, and hundreds more died in the next few days until they were rescued in the Philippine Sea, covered in oil and gas under the sun, being attacked by sharks. But what enabled these men to survive, they would discuss, well, who needs you at home? Who do you have at home? A wife, kids, brother, sister, parents? And the people that didn't have anyone at home, they would eventually have somebody at home. And it was their connection with other people, how they could help them, and how they were dependent on, how those people were dependent on them, and how the person would be dependent on them, and how they would be dependent on the person. Something outside of them enabled them to get through. It can't just be about yourself. And in Lucy's case, this belief in a higher power. The people that have this belief in a higher power seem to be able to get through it. There was a book written called The Rape of the Mind by Joost Meerloo, a Dutch thinker, He analyzed people in the Korean War that were captured by the communist government of China and interrogated. The American soldiers, some of them became communists, but the ones that did not become communists through the interrogation were the ones that had faith in a higher power. The people that had the faith in the higher power, it was much more difficult to turn them into communists. The people that had something, the people that were focused on just themselves, they would succumb to the torture of the Chinese communists. So Lucy, with the faith in the Almighty, whether it's in a concentration camp or American prisoners of war held by the North Koreans, the Chinese, and then people knowing that somebody is depending on you, that is relying on you, that you can connect with. These are things that enable you to get past it. If you don't have these, it seems like your chance of survival is much less. So Lucy.
I believed in God, and I talked to him, and I believed in him. If not him, I wouldn't be here.
And Lucy spends her time since she. Tell us, Lucy, because this is only part of the story. Lucy surviving Hitler's concentration
You
camp.
could watch me on the YouTube.
Right.
I have my whole story there with doctor's help.
So
Yeah.
Lucy, where did you move to in the Holy Land? Where did you, not New York?
I moved to Israel. I was in the Haganah. Israel was not Israel yet. It was Palestine. When I moved with my husband and a baby to Israel, and we brought the guns to Israel from Czechoslovakia, there was Palestine. The British were still there, and the Arabs were still there. And we moved in. We came with a ship, with a freight ship, that they shipped cows and horses, and we came with that ship. And we came with ammunitions, with guns from Czechoslovakia to help to give a city, Medinat Israel,
So where did you live?
and Haifa.
Where did you go, to Haifa?
Haifa.
So how could you go to the army if you had a baby? They let you go with a
I was in reserve. My husband was an officer. But we bought the guns from Czechoslovakia. We smuggled them in. We smuggled them in. I used to have a gun in my baby's pillow, baby pillow.
That's crazy. Lucy, tell us, for those of us who will never have to experience something like you experienced for even one day, let alone years,
God forbid.
what can you say to somebody that is experiencing a challenge, adversity, loss? How can they think about things the way you think about things to help them get through the struggle?
They have to believe in God, number one. And number two, they have to believe in themselves. And if they don't do that, then they lost. There is a God who always helps. If you believe in him, he'll help you. If you don't believe in him, he won't help you.
So just a subtle thing like that, just one sentence, a belief in God, or God is going to help you. It attaches to your identity, and other people don't have that. And just that subtle shift, like with Steve Chase, we spoke with him a few weeks ago, he was told that after his death experiences, he was dead for about 3 minutes, and he came to it, and they said, you're not going to walk for a year, and he says, I'm Steve Chase, I'll be out of here in a month. So something about his identity that you attach can change what you think your capability is, what you can endure, and what you can get through. So Lucy says, I believe in God. And it doesn't sound like, it doesn't sound like, you mentioned that your dad doesn't walk around with a big beard, but it's not so relevant. It matters what's in his thoughts and what he instilled in you, what your mom instilled in you, that there's a God, and this God helps us.
My dad taught us that we should believe in him, in God. He went to shul every Saturday. He was not an Orthodox man, but he believed in God, and he taught us every Friday night. He made Kiddush, sit around the table with 7 children. He says, I'm the proudest man that I have this Friday night, all the children around the table, and we kept Shabbos, and we didn't do nothing on Shabbos. We were not allowed to do nothing. My brothers went with my father to shul, and we kids, girls, just played around or helped other children. I used to go wash neighbors' children because I like them clean.
So Lucy says that you have to believe in God and you have to believe in yourself. So
Correct.
one of the things that enables people to get ahead further in life and somehow stave off depression and emotional problems and get through struggles is their self-image and what they think of themselves, how they view themselves in their own mind. And we say terrible things to us sometimes about who we think we are and what we think we can do, but you seem to think that you say you viewed yourself as somebody that could survive and get through it. And that comes from your childhood, and it comes from teachers and counselors and relatives and what they say to you. It forms this philosophy that shapes what you think your potential is. And Lucy says to herself, I can survive this because I believe in myself and I believe in God. And those two things, there isn't really a limit to what you can accomplish if you have those two things. If you believe that you deserve more and that you have a certain capability and you have resilience and fortitude and resolve, then with those two beliefs in yourself and with God, it doesn't seem like any challenge could take you
I
down.
was half dead. I
More
was
than that,
laying
more
on the
than-
floor. I had typhus,
How much did you weigh?
and they liberated me. I weighed maybe 30 pounds. And I wound up in a hospital in Bergen-Belsen. The British liberated us. They didn't know who to save first. The live ones, who the pulse was still going, or the dead ones. They made big graves and they threw them all in because people died like flies. It was typhus. All had typhus, including me. I was laying on the floor when the British came in. And if they wouldn't come in another 5 days, I would be dead. Typhus is a disease a terrible disease. No food, no water, no nothing. And laying on the floor, no beds, no bunks, nothing. And Bergen-Belsen was nothing. It was a death trap.
Lucy, when people were around you and they saw you getting up every day, going and pushing yourself to survive, did you talk to any of the other people that were there, trying to motivate them to keep going and not to just give up?
Correct.
What did you say to them?
I said, you have to keep on going. God will help.
Despite the suffering, where you could just as easily say, look what God's doing to us, you said, God's going to help us despite what's going on.
Well, I was almost dead, and God helped me.
Right.
If not, they wouldn't come in. The British liberated the camp, I would be dead.
Right.
Typhus is a terrible disease with no medication, no bed, no nothing. I didn't have a toothbrush for 2 years.
You have beautiful teeth now, Lucy.
No, I don't. I lost my tuck teeth. No.
Pretty soon.
You're still beautiful.
I am a strong, looks like a strong woman, and I survived all that trouble.
Lucy, tell me this. I think the audience might find interesting. You fell under pretty hard times a few months ago, and I called you to see how you were doing, and you said you had something bad had happened to you. And do you want to tell us what happened and who came to rescue you in your dream?
I came here from Florida. I lived in Florida. I had a daughter. She was born in Israel. And she passed. She passed on me.
When you had called me and said that you had given up, that you didn't want to live anymore.
Right.
And then what stopped you?
He said no.
Who else? There's somebody else came to see you.
A lot of Israelis come to see me, you and a rabbi, and they all talked me out. I said, no, I'm going to kill myself.
In your sleep, though, Lucy, who came to talk to you in your sleep?
Talk to me, my parents.
She hadn't seen them in 80 years.
Right. My parents came to talk to me and said, no, it's not your time yet.
What did they tell you still needed to do?
Keep on going and keep on praying.
So Lucy sees herself as this emissary of the travesty that occurred during the Second World War, and to go around and tell people what happened. You know, I remember getting into these conversations with these they're called biblical higher criticism people at the religious studies department who deny the authenticity of the Bible, and they come from this tradition of Hegel and Wellhausen from Germany in the 19th century, and they say there's no evidence of the Exodus from Mitzrayim. They say, well, we're 2 generations out from the Holocaust, and you have people running around campus. They would come to my school, and they know they came to Dee's school, and they would try to convince you that this is all made up, and this is only 2 generations later. So imagine 3,000 years, you may have a few deniers. So that quickly can occur. So Lucy says that she needs to stay alive in order to tell this story to people, because there is a God. God wants her to stay alive, and she wants people to know what happened, so that, I assume, so it doesn't
Never
happen.
forgotten.
Because very quickly it can disappear. Very quickly you can go to universities, you can take polls, the Pew polls. People are losing the knowledge of this. It's like the greatest tragedy in the history of humankind. And only 3 generations later, the knowledge of it is disappearing. And that was not the case 1 or 2 generations ago. Everybody knew about it. Sympathy for the state of Israel, establishment of the state of Israel. And now you ask young kids, 18, 19 years old, what happened to, what is this place called Bergen-Belsen and Auschwitz and Himmler and Eichmann? They have no idea what you're talking about. It's very scary. So Lucy stays alive.
When I came to Israel, it was not picnic either. We didn't have any water. We didn't have any electricity. We didn't have any food. It was very tough, very tough. And we survived. Thank God we survived all that. My husband was in the army. He was a fighter. And I was ready to go into the army anytime they called. That was life in Israel. Israel was very good, and we fought for Israel. When Israel became Israel, we were dancing in the streets for Medinat Israel. Ben Gurion was the
Prime Minister.
Okay, the president, Ben Gurion.
No, Lucy, did you notice that the people that didn't have the faith, the emunah that you had, did not do as well in the concentration camp? That the people that believed in
They
a higher
killed
power
themselves.
to escape from the suffering.
Right. They didn't want to suffer anymore. Plenty of them killed themselves. They were hungry, barefooted, naked. No? They went to the barbed wire and they were finished.
Did you know that at some point it would end, or did you think this may just go on forever?
I wanted to do it many times, but I don't know. God said no. I couldn't do it.
Well, Lucy,
Yeah.
we're gonna end our
Yeah.
interview, and we'll leave the remaining 15 minutes for questions. Is that okay?
Sure. Anybody wants any questions, I'm ready. Go ahead. Go ahead. You want in Hebrew, and Jewish, and English, and English.
Lucy, it's very interesting.
Polish, whatever language you want.
I wanted to know.
I speak 7 languages.
I wanted to know if the Holocaust museums that are wrote in different places.
Yeah.
Have you visited any of them, or the
Museums, the Museum.
Museums?
Holocaust Museum.
Holocaust museums.
Yad Vashem.
Oh, I've been to Yad Vashem. They have to take me out of there. It's very hard for me to go to Yad Vashem. Very hard. I lived in Israel, and I know Yad Vashem.
Lucy, first I'd like to say that I really admire you and
Thank
people like you who survived and maintained emunah to such a degree are for me nothing but heroes. So the question is, Lucy, my mother is also a Holocaust survivor.
Yeah,
she
where
wasn't.
was she?
She was hidden in a convent in Belgium
Oh, okay.
during the war. She wasn't in the camps.
Okay.
But asking the
I
question,
was in Anne Frank's house.
yes, I was there too. Really,
And
really,
how?
really. And the question that I ask is, as a Jew and as a personal next generation of survivors, it bothered me, the question why. Why did it happen? And I was
Why?
reading...
I don't know. Rabbis yelled, Shema Israel.
So the opinions are, on the one hand, that it is the evil of people that eventually led to the Shoah. And then
Many
another...
rabbis went to the Shoah. Many
Yes.
rabbis, big rabbis.
what is your perspective on that after all what you've been through? What do you feel is the answer to the why?
I feel that there is a God, and He saved me, so He saved a few more that we
Many
came
more.
out from the Gehenna. I mean, we were on fire, and we came out from the fire. That it's God wanted that way, so we should be here to tell the story, so everybody should know what happened to the 6 million Jews.
Another question from a young man
Yeah.
here at the beer.
Lucy, you mentioned that you were brought into the work line opposed to...
I can hear you.
Yeah, you mentioned you were brought into the work line instead of the other line that went to the gas chamber. Did you do a job while you were at the concentration camp? Did people work and have things to do?
Where did you work in Auschwitz? What?
I worked and we were supposed to turn around water. So they made us dig instead of the water going straight to turn it around. And there where we worked in water and naked without shoes. They took away my good shoes and they gave me wooden Crocs that I couldn't even walk in them. They took away all our clothes, everything. They stripped us naked, took off the hair from the head. Why?
Didn't you also work in the cafeteria?
Yeah, I did. I worked not in the cafeteria. I started to work in the kitchen. And that was my survival in Auschwitz. Until the last person was still in Auschwitz, the Russian came in there. I was out already. They took us on a death march. The Germans.
Yeah.
I was walking and walking naked, barefooted, with not just me, a few girls, a few people, men and women. And they took us out and lined us up in five, and we walked with the Nazis. Every 2 lines was a dog with a Nazi. And if you stepped out of the line, they put the dog on you. Yeah, I worked in the kitchen, and I make sure that all the Jewish women had a little extra. I used to steal and mix it in the food, and they should eat it. And if I was able to steal a potato, I was sharing it.
Lucy, you said your older sister, your 20-year-old sister, didn't go to the concentration camp. She went to
Budapest.
And the rest of your family, the other siblings,
Everything
and your
went
parents,
to
you all went together in the car to
And the
the
concentration camp.
concentration. It was only your older sister who.
She's my older sister.
So, and then she survived.
She's
and
6 years
then-
older than me, so my dad let her go.
But
Me, I
she's
was
still
young.
alive. Did she survive the war?
She did, and she died in Israel. She was a school teacher in Israel. She went to Hebrew school in my city, home.
And you were the only one that went to the right, and the rest of your family was all put into
I
the
didn't
gas
see my
chamber?
brothers and my daddy. They pushed them. Men was separated. Women was separated. And when I went through with my mom and little sister, with Mengele, you must have heard.
Oh, yeah.
He cut me off. He said, you go to the right, your mom to the left.
But you
With my
don't,
little sister.
you don't know if your
I
brothers
did not-
survived at all, any length of time?
No, I didn't know anybody. I didn't see anybody from my family. And after the war, 2 brothers survived. One was in a hospital till end of the year. We got liberated in 45. He was liberated in end of 45 because he was in a hospital sick. Because they wanted to amputate his 2 legs because they were frozen. And there was a Jewish doctor. And he said, if he's not gonna be able to walk, I'll let him die.
Was your husband also a survivor?
My husband was in the army, Second World War. He was an officer,
American Army?
Which army?
Which army?
Czechoslovakia.
And then you met him right after the Holocaust?
Yeah, he went to fight in Israel too. We took the ammunition, smuggled it in.
How soon after the war did you get married? And how old was the guy?
I was 16 years old when I got married. My son was born when I was 17, a young kid. The doctor came and said, thank God the baby had the baby.
Who's your husband?
My husband was 20 years older than me.
20 years older than you?
Correct? I needed a home. I had no mother, no father, no home. He was already established, he had a home, he had a business. But when the communism came in, we ran. We ran to Israel. We went to Italy, from Italy on a freight ship to Israel with Caserta. I remember like today. A freight ship. I was sick all the way from Italy to Israel.
A question in the back.
Yes, sir.
A lot of young people today believe that people are basically born good. What do you believe?
Excuse me?
Are people, when they're born, are they born naturally good, neutral, or evil?
Well, there's all kind of people in the world. All kind of fish in the ocean. You have good people, you have bad people. You have people that they don't believe that this happened. A lot of American people born, they never heard of it. That's why I'm here, to go and talk and tell them that there is true. What happened to 6 million Jews, they should know. If they are Jewish, they have a Jewish heart. They should know what happened to 6 million Jews. Plenty rabbis screamed, Shema Israel.
Go ahead, Bubby.
Didn't help.
Lucy, do you speak at
There was plenty rabbis in my city. There was a big rabbi that he died, and they came from all over the world to his burial. And he's buried till today's day in a little house in my city. And I happened to go to his little house after the war and say a prayer. Yeah?
What do you want to?
Lucy, do you ever do speaking in public schools to help children?
I
who
do
aren't
go.
Jewish
I do go
understand?
to high schools and public schools.
Good.
I do go a lot. As long as God gives me my voice, I still go.
Because a lot of
Yes,
people do
darling.
not know anything.
I do. All the children should know.
All right, go
Yes,
ahead.
darling.
You said that your father was a religious man and you observed Shabbat and
Yes.
everything. Was there anything that you did in the concentration camps that was Jewish or religious?
We couldn't. It was nothing. It was barefoot and naked and no food. Everybody was equal. No.
But you still spoke to God.
No, we didn't have anything. We didn't have a toothbrush, never mind a scissor. Nothing. We were taken away everything. Stripped naked. Cut my hair. Why? I was a little girl. Why did it come to us?
Listen, did you ever ask? Did you ever discuss that amongst you? Why is God doing this? At the same time as you saying, God wants me to be alive to tell people, did you ever question, why is this happening to us? I don't understand it. Why us?
Because maybe we sinned something. Maybe we had something, God had something against us. Why us Jews he picked? Why not Catholics? Why not them? Why us? We were the chosen Jews. That's what happened to us, because we were the chosen one.
So we'll close up in the next few minutes, but I think maybe some
Anybody wants any questions, I'll answer.
so maybe a couple take-home messages. People are capable of doing horrific things to each other, but then we are also at the same time able to do tremendous altruistic things. And the human spirit really, there isn't really any limit to what it's able to endure, and the resolve of an individual, a young girl that's able to survive something horrific because she sees a definite purpose. She doesn't understand necessarily the meaning, but she sees a purpose to her existence. There's a higher power that's in charge.
One
She has
thing, you
responsibility.
have to believe in God. And the other thing, you have to believe that you are Jew, You don't forget that you are a Jew, born and you're gonna die a Jew.
All right. Thank you very much, Lucy.
It was nice talking to you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Millman. Thank you very much, Lucy. Thank you for continuing to live, to share your story. I think everyone here was touched by your words.
Anytime you need me, I'm here.